Hey guys, it's Cece back with another video. In today's video, we are going to do my eyeshadow palette collection. First time watching, just make sure you show some love, subscribe, click that notification bell, all that good stuff. Also make sure you're following me on Instagram for all the behind the scenes tea and my family vlog channel at Bradley Party of 6. So I'm not going to drag this out. Without further ado, let's get to it. So today I'm going to show you guys my entire eyeshadow palette collection. We are going to talk all about my 87 palettes that I have sitting in front of me. I'm not going to declutter any, but I'm getting ready to pack them up for the move. So I thought I would just show you guys what I have. If you missed any of my other collection videos, just go ahead and check them out. I've already done blushes, bronzers. What else have I done? I've done a lot of stuff. Foundation. So make sure you just go ahead and check those videos out. But today we're going to talk about eyeshadows. So I'm just going to pull them randomly and we're going to look at them. Maybe we'll swatch a few and let's go. So the first two are pretty new. I just showed you guys these in a recent video. These are the XX Revolution eyeshadow palettes. They're very, very gorgeous. I absolutely love them. So this one is in the shade Extrovert and then this one is in the shade Exclusive. Very pretty eyeshadows. If you have a chance to get your hands on them, I would definitely do so. I've only seen them sold in the Makeup Revolution website, but yeah. Another gorgeous palette is this one right here. This is the Too Faced Born This Way palette. Just a nice neutral palette. I mean, I don't use it that much, but it is a nice palette if you're just looking for some good neutrals. Then kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum is this Uoma Beauty Black Magic Carnival palette, and this is what it looks like. Like, how gorgeous is this palette? So many different colors. You can make so many different gorgeous looks out of this palette. Plus, this is a good black owned makeup brand. They have a full range of products. And then I have another Uoma Beauty palette and it just looks like this. This one is the Savage palette. Very gorgeous. Some more palettes with some color are these ABH Norvina palettes. I keep finding these on sale on the Sephora and Ulta website. So if you guys haven't checked these out already, look and see if they're on sale. They're very colorful, very pigmented shadows. You guys know I love the ABH shadows. So these are really, really nice ones. Like, look at this shade right here. How colorful is that shade? And gorgeous. Like, what? Continuing on, I do have 3 Natasha Denona eyeshadow palettes. This one is the Love palette, very pinky red toned. This is like something that you have to pull out around Valentine's Day and do some looks with. Then I have the Sunrise palette, which is so gorgeous. Very nice warm tone palette. Reminds me of like a good spring palette. I would use this, and fall. You can use it for both. And then I have the Sunset palette, which this is another warm neutral palette, just something that is very good to have in your collection. Now these are very expensive, as you guys know, so I mean, do what you want with it, but do I think they're worth the money? I love these because these are $65, so these are a lot less expensive. These are $130 for the full size palettes, and I don't think it's worth the money. So just my opinion on that. Another expensive palette is this Pat McGrath palette right here. This is the Mothership 5 palette. This is one that I don't pull out too often, but I love Pat McGrath eyeshadows. I think this palette is really, really pretty. So going from expensive to not so expensive, I have 3 of these Wet n Wild 10 shadow eyeshadow palettes. These have been a staple in my collection for years and years, and they repackaged them to make them just a little more sleek looking and a little more, I don't know, pretty. But these palettes, if you don't have these in your collection, not sure what you're doing. This is the infamous Comfort Zone palette right here. It has like the greens and earthy tones. This one is the My Glamour Squad palette, and then this one is VI Purple. Very pretty. Alright, so I zoomed you guys in just a little. Another good drugstore option is this Soul palette by ColourPop. This is just the most beautiful orange palette I've ever seen, and you can make so many great looks with this palette. I've used it several times in several videos, and I would definitely recommend this one. Of course, Fenty has eyeshadow palettes. There are 10 of them. I only have 3, number 3, 6, and 10. 10 is actually a recent purchase because it just came out, but this is number 3, nice warm tone neutral. Number 10 is called Money, and it's that pretty like green. And then number 6 is this cool toned black palette. Here's a palette I actually just got in a BoxyCharm, Beauty Creations Cali Chic. So it looks like this. Looks like another neutral palette. Not sure if I'm going to use this, but I'm going to keep it for now. A palette that I was really surprised that I liked was this palette by Dominique Cosmetics. It's the Celestial Thunder palette. These shades are actually really pigmented and really, really gorgeous. I was very surprised with how this palette performed and how much I actually did like it. I got this one also in a BoxyCharm, and so happy I did, and I was able to try Dominique Cosmetics. So let's talk about these right here. All of the Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes that I have. Y'all know I'm sort of a collector of those. I love these. The quality is unmatched, and I mean, they just can't be beat. So this is the infamous Modern Renaissance palette. You guys know I still have that one. This one is the Prism palette. We have the Jackie Aina palette right here. I will never ever get rid of this palette. It's so amazing. I'm kind of like showing you guys my cleavage there. But it's the Jackie Aina palette. This one is the Alyssa Edwards palette. Very colorful and gorgeous. Sultry palette. Nice cool toned, like smoky eye. This just gives me smoky eye vibes. Soft Glam. The Amrezy palette. Norvina. All the beautiful purples. And then last but not least, I have the Subculture palette. So recently I did a declutter and I got rid of most of my Juvia's Place palettes, but I do still have 2 left. This one is the Nubian 2 palette. Very pretty. And then this one is the Saharan 2. Sephora Pro is also a favorite. There's different shades of this one, but I got the neutral palette. These are some of the best shadows I've ever used. Just want to put that out there. If you were thinking about getting this palette, I think they still sell it. The only thing, my issue, you guys know I hate it when they don't have the names of the colors on the palette, but other than that, this is one of the most gorgeous palettes like out on the market, seriously, to this day. I do have this mini Pat McGrath Labs palette. It has all like neutral shimmers in it. Very pretty. We have this mini Natasha Denona palette. This one's in the mini stars. That's what it is. Very, very pretty. The Desi and Katie Dose of Colors Friendcation palette. These blues are like, look at this, y'all. These blues are like, who has a color like that in their palette? Like, you can do some serious damage with that blue. I feel like that's the reason I keep this palette around. Like, the other colors are pretty, but that blue is what really makes this palette like everything. I also have this BoxyCharm palette here, which I've never used. This is like an actual BoxyCharm curated palette. So I'm gonna have to get on using this. I haven't tried it, but maybe I'll try it in an upcoming video. Do maybe like an all BoxyCharm video or something. Next, I have this palette here that I did curate from Inglot. I just ordered some palettes off of, or gosh, I can't talk, some shadows off of their website, and I created my own palette. So these are the colors that I made. I did this years ago, but I love this little container here and how it's magnetic. I absolutely love it. A newer palette is by this one by Believe Beauty. This I think was $5 at Dollar General, so very, very affordable. I love that brand as a whole, so I do have that one. I have this other affordable palette from JCat Beauty. This is the Extreme Access Pocket Shadow Palette, and it just looks like this. Very pretty. I actually did use this in a look as well, and I love the performance of these shadows also. I do have 2 of these LA Girl Pro shadow palettes. These are amazing palettes for the price, and they're always on sale at Ulta, FYI. So this one is the Hot Heat palette. Just look at the shades, the blues, the greens, the purples, very nice jewel toned palette here. And then I also have this Artistry palette, and this one looks like this. Like, y'all, I'm a sucker for a good blue. If you can do a blue well, like, I feel like your shadows are fire, and this is such a nice blue. Speaking of colors, Ace, I think it's Beauté, how you say it, they also make amazing shadows, amazing pigmentation, just so beautiful. This one is the Grandiose palette. This one here is the Scarlet Dusk palette. How gorgeous, right? And then this one is the Quintessential palette. I have to pull these out more. In a recent BoxyCharm, I did get this Tarteist Pro palette. I haven't used it yet. I'm not the biggest fan of Tarte eyeshadows, but I'll probably keep it and use it a few times and see what I think. I'm just not the biggest fan of Tarte eyeshadows anymore, so that's that. But some shadows I am a fan of are these Huda Beauty shadows. These are the Obsessions palettes. Y'all have heard me talk about these 5 million times, so excuse me for repeating myself. But I have these Smoky Obsessions, which is this cool toned, like this is just a smoky eye in a palette right here. I have the Topaz Obsessions. Gorgeous warm toned brown palette. Warm Brown Obsessions, another like warm brown neutral palette. The Ruby Obsessions, ruby red shades. The, what is this, Mauve Obsessions. The Gemstone Obsessions. And then the Nude Rich palette right here. Gorgeous. I also have these e.l.f. mini palettes right here that I've shown you guys. These are called the Bite Size Eyeshadow Quads. And I have Cream and Sugar. I have this one here in, what is this, Pumpkin Pie. I have this one in Carnival Candy. And then I have this one in Rosewater. And I have one more in, it's like a green tone, jalapeno, that's what it's called. And I have it packed already, so I can't show you guys that, but I do have another one of these. So I guess that would mean I have 88 eyeshadow palettes then. Add one more to that. Okay, this is an eyeshadow palette by LA Splash. I have not used this much, but this color right here is, it's like a pressed pigment. Very, very gorgeous. I haven't used this much. I'm gonna have to pull this out because it's a very pretty palette. A KKW palette in the shade Classic Blossom. This is also a really nice palette to have in your collection. And going along with her sister, this is the Kylie, what's this one called? I don't know what this is called. I think it was called like Royal Peach or something, but it was a really nice, it had really nice peaches in it, so that's why I keep it. It doesn't have the name on the actual palette though. It's weird. Let's see, Too Faced Just Peachy Mattes. This was a very nice palette. It smelled like peaches, all matte shades, and it had all of those like gorgeous peachy shades in it. I still have these 4 palettes, which I'm not giving up because I thought they were great quality. Jaclyn Hill catches a lot of flack, but I thought these palettes were so good. So this one is the, which one is this? This one is the Dark Magic palette. Very pretty. This one is Bling Boss. I think this one was my favorite, I want to say. This one is Ring the Alarm. Nice warm tone. And then this one is Armed and Gorgeous. I definitely used Bling Boss the most, but I'm definitely keeping these. I have another Uma Beauty palette. This one is in the shade Poise. This is the first one that I got, but very nice, pretty palette. Let's see, we have 2 palettes from Profusion. One is my beloved Sienna's palette. This is one of the best palettes that you can find. If you can find it at the drugstore, this palette's like $12 and it's one of the best palettes that I've ever used. Like so good and so cheap. And then I also have the Profusion Royals palette. Profusion has nice eyeshadow brushes. They have great shadows. They have a good eyeshadow base that I love. Profusion is a really nice brand as a whole. All right, so sorry y'all can see my legs right here, okay? I'm sitting on the floor because I had too many palettes to sit at my table. But here's another Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette. This is the recent one that came out last year. Such a good palette. I didn't use it as much as I should have. I'm gonna pull this one out too and use it some more because this was a great palette and I definitely recommend it. I have this Picante palette by Curated. This is also just a really nice drugstore palette to have. This is a made up palette by me, just in a Z palette. I think these are some Anastasia Beverly Hills shadows, and then this is a MAC shadow right here. The Mer palette by ColourPop. This goes with that orangey soul palette. This one has more blues and greens and browns. ColourPop has great shadows if you didn't know. Here's another ColourPop palette. This is the Makeup Shayla and ColourPop Proceed with Caution palette. This was her second one with them. And then here is her first Perception palette. I used this baby to the ground and I am never giving this up. This palette was so good, so well rounded. I was in love with this palette for a very long time. This Milani palette, this is the Pure Passion palette. I don't use this very often, but I mean, I don't know, I just keep it because I like to have something from a lot of different brands, so I'm gonna keep that around as well. I have this palette by Essence. This is the Bonjour Montreal palette. Nice earthy tones. I wasn't in love with it, but it was a good solid palette for the price. Too Faced Gingerbread Extra Spicy palette. I've only used this like once, so I really need to dive into this some more, but very pretty palette. I love Too Faced shadows. Another palette that I love is this Urban Decay. This is the Born to Run palette. I think we can all agree that this is one of the most well-rounded palettes on the market ever. Like this is it right here. Like you have some colors, you have some neutral shades, you can do so many looks with this palette. It is unfair to other palettes on the market, honestly. Almost done, y'all. e.l.f. Opposites Attract palette. Looks like that. Wasn't in love with this palette, but I'm gonna keep it. I have two more ColourPop palettes. This is the Lovebird palette, which it broke, but very gorgeous pigments in it. And then I have this Femme Rosa Caruccian ColourPop palette. This palette is so old, but it's one of my favorite ColourPop palettes like ever. Ciate London, the Editor palette. I just got this in a BoxyCharm just a couple of weeks ago, and it looks nice. I haven't tried any Ciate shadows, but it looks nice. I also got these in BoxyCharms. This is the Pure Cosmetics Festival palette. Pure Cosmetics actually has some nice shadows also, so I do have that one. And then I have this Morphe and Manny MUA Glam palette, and this has shadows as well as two highlighters in it. This is the Tarte eyeshadow palette. These are foil finger paint, so you're supposed to use your fingers on this, but very gorgeous palette. I keep these around for lid shades because these are just everything. This is my favorite shade in this palette right here. Bobbi Brown, the Ultraviolets eyeshadow palette. Very pretty purple deep dark palette. Love it. I also love this It's My Ray Ray and BH Cosmetics palette. This is not only an eye palette, but it is also a face palette. I use this palette so many times, and I would definitely keep this around. This is so great for travel. You have your face products, your eye products. I mean, this is really nice. And last but not least is a Z palette with MAC shadows that I made a long time ago. I love this little leopard Z palette. It's just so cute and so chic. Alright you guys, so those are all the eyeshadows. I feel like that took forever. Now I have to pack them all up. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful for you, or at least entertaining. I wasn't planning on being on camera right now, so that's why I have like a sports bra on, but you know what, just ignore that. Thank you guys so much for all your love and your support, for commenting, for supporting, for watching, for liking, all that stuff. I love you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.